Hey there, folks. John Campea here for the Movie Blog to give you my quick review of the newest and final installment of the Twilight franchise, Breaking Dawn Part 2. Now look, most people fall into one of two categories when it comes to the Twilight series. Either they're blind Twilight lovers who absolutely refuse to acknowledge any problems with the films whatsoever, or on the other side, they're blind Twilight haters who refuse to acknowledge anything good about the films, even though most of them have never seen more than maybe one of them. Now, while I admit that I am no Twilight fan, and yes, I have seen all of them, I do make an effort to go into each movie and evaluate it on its own merits. I don't care if I loved or hated all the previous films in a franchise. All I care about is the individual movie in front of me, and is it good or isn't it any good? So with that being said, the final Twilight film, is it good? Well, you know what? Yes, it actually is. Let me put it this way. Breaking Dawn Part 2 is like a standard Twilight movie, except add one or two really good elements and then subtract two or three really annoying elements that have been in all the other films. What you're left with is Breaking Dawn Part 2, and a pretty good movie. Let's start by looking at the positives and the negatives. On the positive side, this is a really fresh new Twilight movie, unlike any of the others that have come before it. In Breaking Dawn Part 1, the series wrapped up and finished several of its long-running stories and themes with the birth of their new child and the death and rebirth of Bella as a vampire. The old annoying, "Oh, Edward, I want you to turn me into a vampire so I can be with you forever. No, Bella, I don't want you to become like me and be a monster and be damned," annoying as hell conversations that happened at least 20 times in each and every movie so far are now no longer needed and therefore are gone. The whole beaten to death Team Edward or Team Jacob debate is over. The whole can their love survive gimmick is done. All these layers of annoyingly overused devices and sloppy artificial sentimentality are gone in Breaking Dawn Part 2 because Part 1 closed off the need for them. Also on the positive side, ever since they were introduced, I've wanted to see a lot more of the Volturi. And it was a really frustrating thing for me that these very interesting characters were hardly used at all. I mean, holy hell, do I really need to see Bella moping around for 10 more minutes instead of showing us a few more precious minutes of Michael Sheen being awesome as Aro? Well, in Breaking Dawn Part 2, we do get a lot more Volturi than in the previous films. And as I suspected, it made the film a whole lot more interesting. I still would have liked to have seen a little bit more of them, but Michael Sheen shines every single minute that he's on screen. Another positive for this movie is that it needed Renesmee, the daughter of Edward and Bella, to work completely if this was going to work. She has to be so captivating, so cute, so precious that you as an audience member believe that she would captivate even the hardest-hearted vampire. Well, little actress Mackenzie Foy does it, completely and totally and without hesitation. After watching her on screen for 5 minutes, look at me in the eye and tell me that you wouldn't throw yourself in front of a truck to protect her. So now, when all these vampires seem suddenly willing to risk their own lives for her, you actually have no problem believing it deep down because you know that you would too. And no review of this film would be complete without mentioning the final big battle scene. I won't beat around the bush here. It's great. No, it really is. It's exciting, it's fast-paced, it's well shot, it's very surprisingly violent, and best of all, it's filled with huge surprises that had the audience at the premiere in an absolute frenzy. I'll leave it at that so as to not give away any spoilers. Just know that the battle is really top-notch. And finally, smaller things like the always great performances of Billy Burke as Bella's dad. Billy has consistently been the best actor in this franchise, and he's given any real true heart to the series. The Cullen family, especially Ashley Greene and Peter Fasinelli, bring nice touches of true sentimentality and humor when they're needed. And, as always, I think the wolves look pretty great. Now, on the negative side of Breaking Dawn Part 2, there is still too much, "Oh, I love you so much. No, I love you so much. Oh, I love you so much it hurts. No, I'd die without your air in my lungs" nonsense. Look, the best on-screen love stories are the ones that need very little outward explicit expression and rely more on subtlety. Twilight has always taken the approach that they need to hit the audience over the head with a hammer 1,000 times to get their point across because they assume that we as the audience are all too dumb to understand it otherwise. Also, this film introduces us to about a dozen new vampires that seemed like they could have been pretty cool, but instead of giving them any real on-screen time to develop, all the extra time was given to the aforementioned, "Oh, I love you so much" conversations between Bella and Edward. And so I'm left feeling a little bit hanging with these new characters who could have been brought to a point where they gave more to the movie and to the movie-going experience as a whole. And finally, while the third act of the film moves along at a great tempo, the first two acts, while not dead, do feel rather slow. You can see things developing, but it takes you a while to get any sense of pace. Slow movies can have pace, and it's okay to be slow sometimes as long as there is a cadence to the film that fits the story. The first two acts of Breaking Dawn, however, completely lack this. Still, overall, even though the film is a bit slow to get moving, still has too many "oh, I love you so much" dialogue wastelands, and not enough time given to the secondary characters, the new feel of the film compared to the previous installments, the increased role of the Volturi, the excellent battle scene, the new version of Bella 2.0, where she's now a vampire and doesn't have to mope around like a 10-year-old brat who didn't get the pony she wanted for Christmas, all makes Breaking Dawn Part 2 not only the best film in the franchise, but also a legitimately good movie by almost any standard. I liked it, and I think if most people go into it with an open mind, they'll like it too. Overall, I give Breaking Dawn Part 2 a 7 out of 10. For the Movie Blog, I'm John Campea.